Hi again. Welcome to my somewhat gloomy study. It's just finished snowing out there. Still in lockdown, not fishing. Mind you, with the state of the rivers, probably I'm not missing too much. So today I thought I might tell you about a fishing trip that I made a few years ago. It was to the River Welland in Stamford. I had been fishing there for a few years, and on most days I would catch a couple of chub, 3. That was a reasonably good day. But on this occasion, which was in June, summer chubbing, it was a bit of a red letter day. I took 8 fish from one swim, 7 in one sitting and 1 a bit later on, which was quite exceptional. And I went on to take a couple more in another swim, one of which was my personal best at the time and remained so, just a shade over £5. So I wasn't videoing in those days, obviously, so what I propose to do is to talk you through it with some still photographs which I took at the time. I've always taken photos of fish that I catch, or decent fish that I catch, and with a few photographs thrown in showing the river and just to give you a feel for the place. I did do an earlier video on the Welland at Stamford, which has received quite a few visits, even though I didn't actually catch anything on that day. So as that proved interesting to people, perhaps this will also be interesting. So without further ado, let's get started. I had been fishing the Welland at Stamford for a few years, and over that time, as one does, I'd sort of found a few favourite spots. And on this day in June, I was heading for the first of these, which was a fair way up the stretch. But long before I got there, I was walking past what is basically a gravel beach, where the locals like to allow their dogs to frolic around. And it wasn't somewhere I'd really fished before, basically because of the fact that dogs were regular visitors. But on this day, as I was walking towards that beach, just before I got to it, looking down into the river, I spotted a couple of chub. So I thought, okay, why go somewhere else when there are fish literally right in front of me? I didn't go down onto the beach at this stage. I stopped on the higher bank where I'd seen the fish, and using my usual approach there, a simple link ledger with a couple of swan shots on a sliding link on the main line, I dropped a piece of luncheon meat down where I'd seen the chub, and it wasn't long before one of them obligingly took it, and after a little bit of a tussle, the first fish was on the bank. The fish weighed 2¼ pounds, which is a nice size. I'd caught bigger from the Welland, but I wasn't complaining. It was a great start to the day. I'd only just arrived. I'd spotted fish immediately and caught one immediately. So I decided, after catching that fish, that I would actually move down onto the beach, which would give me a much better access to the stretch of the river where I'd caught the fish from, because from the bank above it had been a bit awkward trying to both cast and land the fish. Having set myself up on the beach, it wasn't very long at all, 5 minutes or so, before I got a thumping bite, and this was obviously a better fish. And when I got it in, it was £4 6 ounces, which is the upper end of the size of fish that I'd taken out of the Welland previously. So I was both surprised and really quite satisfied. I really didn't expect to take another fish out of the swim, because previously 2 fish out of one spot was all I could expect. But within 20 minutes I was into another fish, and again it was a good fish, this time £4. Within half an hour I was into yet another fish, this time £2 9 ounces, perfectly acceptable fish on any day, but after £2 and £4 obviously somewhat smaller. It was now 1:30 and the sun was getting quite hot. As you can see, I've donned my hat. No sooner had I cast out after the last fish, and within 5 minutes once more I found myself playing a decent fish, and this time it was £3 3 ounces. I could hardly believe what was happening, really. Never before on this stretch had I taken so many fish, let alone from the same spot. And in fact, a guy, he was just walking along the river. He sat next to me for a while I caught a couple of fish, and he was quite amazed as well. He actually said he'd dig his rods out and come down. He didn't realise there were so many fish in the river. Obviously what he was watching was certainly not the norm, but it's good that it encouraged somebody else to come down and have a go. And so things continued. The next fish was 2 3/4 pounds. Again, a very respectable fish, even though it was smaller than the earlier ones, but I certainly wasn't complaining. I took one more fish of 2.5 pounds before the run of bites finally stopped. I had now caught 7 fish from the swim between 11:35 and 2:25. So it was time to move on, and I made my way along the stretch. I did spot chub in a couple of places, but they were really in inaccessible spots that I couldn't cast to. And ultimately I ended up at the footbridge where you cross from one meadow into another, and there's a large pool below the footbridge where I'd seen large chub in the past, and I'd caught chub from there. And as I arrived there, I did in fact see quite a decent chub of probably more than £4 in the shallows near the edge of the pool. It was now getting on for 5 o'clock, and it wasn't too long before I connected with a fish in the pool, but unfortunately it managed to snag me, and it ended up with me needing to break off. But after a couple of missed bites, I connected with another fish, which in the fast flow was giving me a real battle, and when I got it in, it actually was a fish of £5 2 ounces. That was my personal best for a chub, and it remains my personal best. I took one more fish from the pool, a fish of £3 1 ounce, and I missed a few more bites. It was now 5:30, and I had planned to pack up about 6 o'clock, so on the way back I stopped off at the first spot where I'd caught the 7 fish earlier, and again, to my surprise, I managed to take another chub. It was only £1 7 ounce, and I didn't actually photograph it, but it was a nice end to the day as I made my way back to the car, and it was, for me, my best day's chub fishing, and I've not managed to do any better since. I really enjoy summer chub fishing, and particularly when the water level is a bit low, as it was on this day, where you can spot the fish and you can stalk them, and when you succeed, it's really quite satisfying. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed reliving my red letter day with me. Obviously it's better to have a video, but unfortunately, with me being stuck in for most of the time, I can't do that at the moment. So this is my best alternative. Anyway, if you enjoyed it, hope you come back again, and as always, bye for now.